is in my yes. Joy in my yes. Peace in my yes. 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 Yes, Lord. To your will. Yes, Lord. To your way. My soul says yes. My spirit says yes. Whatever you want. Yes. Whatever you need. Yes. Send me to the mountain. I'll still say yes. Send me to the valley low. I'll still say yes. When the enemy comes in, I'll still say yes. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Whatever. 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 Yeah, yes. Yeah, yes. Yeah, yes. Yeah, yes. You can have me however you want. Yes. Yes, whatever I expect. I'm gonna get it. Whatever I expect. I'm gonna get it. Whatever I expect. Whatever I expect. If I expect to be healed. Whatever I expect. Listen. Say it's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. Joy is mine. Joy is mine. Peace is mine. Love is mine. My healing, mine. Hey, mine. I can see it. I can see it. I declare it. I decree it. The business is mine. Success, it's mine. It's mine. It's mine. Tell yourself, it's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. Whatever I expect. Hey, I'm gonna get it. Whatever I expect.
Well, this is the Greater Experience, and this is your host, Bishop Tavis Grant. I want to thank you for joining us on our Facebook Live and our YouTube channel. I want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and become one of our global partners. You know, it's hard to believe after all we've been through, we're at the close of another season and another time. And I'm so glad I made it, and I'm glad you made it as well. You know, as we share week after week after week, these encounters are so important to me that I want you to make sure that you prepare yourself for this special Wednesday night in the Word for Winners. Wednesday night in the Word for Winners. And we will be shifting our schedule, adding more content to all of the platforms as we go into this brand new season and this brand new time. And so I want you to text, I want you to tag and follow and comment. I want you to comment. I respond to those who respond to me because I am reachable as you are teachable. We are together in this. And so I want you to make sure that you join us in all that we're doing. Go to bishoptavisgrant2.org and get more information about what we're doing. And then share, like, and comment on this platform and all of our platforms that include Twitter and Instagram. I am social media savvy, and I know that you are as well. And we've got to broaden and increase this audience every opportunity we get. And so even while I'm sharing, you have a tremendous opportunity to become a financial contributor, a faith partner with us in all that we have done. 2021 is a phenomenal year where we were able to serve and feed hundreds and hundreds of people, and along with giving additional resources and support, it's a record year of us being able to do what we do, but we can't do it without your help and your support. And so I want you to tithe, I want you to sow and give. bishoptavisgrant2.org/donations, Cash App, $ Greater First Church, and you can give mobile 219-267-0940. As a matter of fact, you can use that same number and get on our prayer network list as we're praying for so many of you. If it's not one thing, it's another, but we've just got to be reminded that all things do work together for our good. And I want to shout out to those pastors who are partnering with us, faith leaders who are partnering with us, believing in this global platform and enabling us to reach thousands by way of this engagement. You know, I remember as a kid, as a young child, the phenomena of flying. I remember the phenomena of flying. My dearly departed father was one of the first black pilots for TWA, Trans World Airlines. He was a veteran in the Air Force during Vietnam, and I was so fascinated with airplanes. And as a matter of fact, my father did his last tour at NASA. And one of the things that we waited with bated breath to hear, we waited to hear these words, mission accomplished. And I don't know about you, I feel like this year has been a year where I can truly say mission accomplished. And there are several lessons that come to us in this trek, in this journey. I want you to get a piece of paper, I want you to get a pad, maybe you use the notepad on your phone or your iPhone or your Android or your tablet, because I think it's so important that you began the process and practice of writing, journaling, documenting, note-taking. It's an incredible tool to have in study, in reflection, in remembrance, and you just don't have to go on recall, but it's amazing how these notes will come back in days and weeks and months to really bring a sense of recapturing what you heard and what you felt and what you experienced, and then reveal where you are since then. And so I want you to do that. I'm so reminded of a story of a man who worked at a calendar factory, and decided not to go into work one day. And the next day he went back in, and the supervisor of the calendar factory fired him. And he said, I don't know what's wrong with this place. I don't know what's wrong with you. Why would you fire me? All I did was take a day off. He took a day off. He worked at a calendar factory, took a day off. So as we're shifting in this season, we're shifting our clocks, we're shifting our calendars, we're shifting our agenda. And I truly believe in this model, no days off. I don't have a day to give back to the past. I don't have a day to give to my problems. I don't have a day to give away to my predicaments. I believe every day is a day of thanksgiving, but you've got to work for it. And faith without works is dead, being alone. And so I think it's important that as we are shifting from one season to the next, that we remind ourselves of how critically important this moment called now is. Gary Ryan Blair says, many will start fast, but few will finish strong. Many will start fast, but few will finish strong. And so many people get to this part of a season, a time period, a year, and just burn out, just fizzle out, just run out on fumes. And really, the best way to finish is to finish strong. Dr. J. Robert Clinton of the Fuller Seminary did a study on leadership, and here was an astounding discovery in his research. His research determined that only 30% of leaders in the Bible finished well. Only 30% of leaders in the Bible finished well. And when we talk about finish, it's so important that we know the power and potential and the promise attached to strong finishers. The word finish is a word of brevity. It's a word, brevity is, it means to be concise. It means to be exact. It means to be as a matter of fact. And so when you finish a task, when you finish an assignment, when you completed an accomplish it, you leave nothing. You leave nothing undone. You leave nothing incomplete. And so finish has to be very seriously considered when it comes to your assignment in the earth, when it comes to your gifting, your talent, the grace that God has on your life, because there needs to be no ambiguity as it relates to when you use the word finish. It means you're done, you're finished, you completed it. It is now ready for you to move on to the next level, to the next assignment, to the next task at hand. And when a task is done, we say finished. As a matter of fact, this is so critical even in the life of Christ. When he's on the cross, he says these words, "It is finished." Those of us who are great literature readers, we remember Caesar famous 3 words, Veni, Vidi, Vinci. I came, I saw, I conquered. I came, I saw, I conquered. And that was his way of saying, I finished. But Jesus uses the word tetelestai. Tetelestai. It's finished. And it has great brevity. It's a word of intensity. As a matter of fact, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all record Jesus using this word. And it really, the pretext of it is in Matthew 8, when Jesus meets this incredibly talented young man and gives him the invitation to follow him. And he says, I would follow you, but I got to go back to the house and say goodbye to my family. And Jesus says, let the dead bury the dead. In other words, that part of your life is finished. That part of your life is over. That part of your life is complete. You no longer have, watch this, you no longer have responsibility, nor will you be held accountable for taking care of them. Now you must be about the business of building your life. You know, there are 2 fatal errors in life. One is, write this down, not finishing. The other is never starting. And I'm so grieved in my spirit by those of you who are under the sound of my voice, a part of this encounter. You never started. We're at the end of another year, at the beginning of a new year, and you never started. And what is even more heart-wrenching is you never finished. And one of the things in my personal life, my private life, my professional life, my prophetic life, my pastoral life, I want to be 2 things. I want to be a great starter, and I want to be a great finisher. And these are 2 errors in life that plague so many gifted and talented people. They never get started and they never finished. I need not ask you how many projects you have. You started this and didn't finish this. You started this and didn't finish this. And then there are any number of us who have been talking about writing a book and haven't even wrote the first page. And the first page is just your name on it. Your name is not even on the first page. We've never started the business. We've had the dream about the business. We've had prophecy about the business. We've paid for classes about the business and never got the business started. We know when the semester starts. We know what the curriculum is. We know where the school is. We know when the hours are. We never started class 1. And if you look at how Jesus talks about this, he talks in the 3rd person to give us a real sense of how serious that moment was for him, to know that I have finished my human assignment to bring redemption to the world. That God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. But that's not all to it. To them he gave power to become the sons of God. And so when we look at the word that Jesus use the root word is where we get the word telephone, where we get the word telegraph, where we get the word television. It is in the sense that when you use that word to telegraph, a telephone, a television, it is the sense that you have reached your goal. When you get to this point in a season, in a year, you want the gratitude and the attitude and the gratuity of knowing I reached my goal. I can honestly say to you, and listen, I've had some ups and downs this year. I've had some bouts, some fights, and some battles. But I want to tell you, I'm going to cross over from the old into the new with no disappointments, because I can stand before God and say, mission accomplished. It is a part, when you say finished, it means that something has ripened to maturity. It has arrived at the point of growth and harvesting. It's nothing like having something too soon. It's nothing like having something that's not ready, that's not well prepared, that's not well developed. When Jesus says finished, it means that it has come to full completion. Full completion. Well, what do you mean, Bishop? Let's put it like this. A telephone delivers, a telephone delivers a message in sound. You speak into it, I speak into it. It goes through a digitized process, and the sound goes from one point to the other, and that's how you get a complete call. You get a complete message. You get a complete connection. A telegraph, and we don't use those very much, maybe the closest to the telegraph is a text message, but it delivers a message that is encoded, that's encrypted, and it goes from one point to the next point, and it's a complete connection. So God would have us to finish things for a complete connection. There's nothing like being in a false connection. Have you ever been somewhere with somebody and something jumped off and you thought they were with you and they were really against you? You thought they were rolling with you and they was ready to roll over you? God would never take you or I through a Red Sea and then turn around and allow us to be drowned in a baby pool. I'm going to say it again. I know it's a little challenging. It's the end of the year. God would not take you through a Red Sea, let you survive walking through the Red Sea on dry ground, and you mess around and still drown in a baby pool. That's not the will of God. And there are so many of us that major on the minor and minor on the major that we are not able to say mission accomplished. This is the way Paul puts it in 2 Corinthians 13. He says, examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. He goes even further to say, test yourselves. You know, it's so critical to our development to realize that God often takes us through a test to create a testimony. God takes us through a test to create a testimony. And there's nothing like self-examination. And I didn't say self-treatment. I didn't say self-medication. I said self-examination. Nobody should know you better than you know you and God. And so you have to be able to see for yourselves what degree of development, what degree of improvement, what degree of advancement is within you so that you don't fail the U test. You see, I contend with this reality that many of us are not discouraged and disappointed by what people have done to us. We're discouraged and disappointed by what we've done to ourselves. You're the one that won't get up and go to the health club. You're the one that won't change your diet. You're the one that won't change your attitude. You're the one that won't seek the necessary healing and repair for your recovery. That's on you. That's not on anybody else. And so part of our challenge is, can we pass the U test? because many of us don't trust other people because we don't trust ourselves. We are the least dependent or least dependable within ourselves. Just you. I'm not talking about anybody else. Don't look from the screen. Don't. I'm right here. Hi, I'm right over here. Don't look up to the ceiling. I'm right here. When you stop letting you down, you're going to gain a greater confidence and a greater degree of reliability on your own ability, because you're going to stop letting yourself down. Look in your Bible to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Paul is like gangster. Paul is like radical. Paul is like, when I get to heaven, I want to meet him, but I don't know what kind of guy I'm going to encounter. Because in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, Paul says, I do it to myself. I strike a blow. I'm reading it from a new version. I strike a blow to my body to make my body a slave, so that when I preach and minister to others, I am not disqualified of the price that I have coming to me for the work that I have done. You know, the saints of old, our ancestors would talk about a crown that we're going to get. And the book of Revelation talks about the various crowns that are in heaven. And part of our challenge is not being willing to be disciplined enough by ourselves, by our own sense of motivation, our own sense of insisting on certain imperatives that only we can impose and implement on ourselves. And Paul says, I do it to myself. I want my body, I want my mind, I want my spirit to work for me. You know, I can remember in my son's developmental days, and even now with my little Amani, they like to take advantage of your knowledge and your intellect, and I make them read. I'll tell them in a minute, read it for yourself. I'll even go a step further and make them read it back to me. And it's amazing what happens when you own your right to your own destiny and what God has for you. I call that wellness training. I call that wellness training. And there are several aspects to wellness training, because I believe that's what this season is. This is a season for wellness training. I want you to write this down. The first aspect of wellness training is training well. And I love watching these exposés about these boxers who are training for the next match, runners who are training for their next triathlon or marathon, or if they're training for the Olympics. I love the training aspect, because that's the time of personal development. And you got to train well. If you look at the post interviews of a fight, a boxing match, or a football game, and they'll say what happened. They'll talk about what they did in summer camp. They'll talk about what they did in spring training. They'll talk about what they did during the exhibition season, the off season. They'll talk about all the training they went through, and they'll attribute their championship to training well. They'll even say, we had a great training camp. It didn't start on the scene in front of all the cameras and the thousands and thousands of fans. It started in those private moments, those 4:30 in the morning jogs, those 5 o'clock in the morning exercise sessions, those 7 or 8 hours in the gym. They train well. Well, listen to what Paul says in Romans 8:13. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die according to the flesh. But if you live by the Spirit, you'll put to death the deeds of the body, and you will live. Training well puts you in a position spiritually and supernaturally where you're able to take over physical impediments, physical distractions, physical means by which these forces come in to disrupt your life and bring about a sense of broken focus and clouded clarity to where you cannot even, let alone see your way out, you can't fight your way out. Here are three others. Training well, think well. You need to become more mindful of the quality of thoughts that are in your mind. Forgetting those things that are behind, I press towards the mark. Serving well. This is the most detrimental time for the church, because we have people who've abandoned their ministries, abandoned their spiritual work, abandoned their spiritual activity, and you become idle, and it's hard to hit a moving target, but it's easy to hit one standing still. And you're not thinking well, you're not serving well. Here's another one: you're not giving well. And you know in your giving, when you're giving well, you have no regrets, first of all, in the giving, and you have no regrets after the giving. You're thinking well, serving well, giving well, because it's always important to know when something has reached its end. It's important. I don't know about you, but I watch some movies and I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, nobody told me this was going to be a 2.5 hour movie. And then somebody lean over, you still got another hour. No. Now I had much time just sit in the seat, eat popcorn and drink Kool-Aid or whatever, and just sit there and watch it and watch it. I need to know when. Have you ever been to something you want to know, when is it going to be over? I just want to know, when is it going to be over? Is a certain time? I mean, I just don't want, my time is a great commodity to me, and I just want to know, when is it over? Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and you say, when is the end? Is there an end to the story? So when I was 9, and then I was 13, and then I was 7. No, you don't go from 13 to 7. You're going back. Keep going forward, like fast forward. Let me ask you: Have you ever watched one of those on demands? And you're watching it with your wife, your spouse, somebody. They leave the room, and you hit the fast forward button, and they come back and say, "What happened?" You said, "Nothing. It's just watch this part right here," because you won't know when is it going to be over. Have you ever dreaded going somewhere and you put a time up? I'm going to be here from one time to the next time, and you sit there for a moment thinking you've been there for half an hour, you only been there for 10 minutes because you want to know, when is it going to be over? It's important to know that everything must have an end. It's got to have an end. It's got to have an end. It's like closing circles, or shutting doors, or finishing chapters. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is you have to leave the past in the past to live new moments. You have to leave the past in the past to live new moments. And it just comes a point in time, I wish our minds came with an erasing mode. I wish you could just pull your ear 3 times and blink 5 times, and your brain would just erase some stuff. But the intentionality of forgetting, of reset, of renewal, of refreshing your life comes from the reality that you cannot live in the past and in the future at the same time. Listen to what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 6. He said, I'm allowed to do anything. This is, when I started studying this and I really got into this passage of scripture, I was so thankful that Paul helped us to understand what the Bible calls, in theology, is called free will. Paul says, I'm allowed to do anything. And this is the state of the culture now. You can basically do whatever you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Paul says, I'm allowed to do anything. But then he says, I realize everything is not good for me. And I'm ministering to some people right now. The reason why you don't have the time to do the things that you're doing is because you're overwhelmed with so many things that are not good for you. And I know you feel very passionate. I need to be over here. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. But look at the quality of life that you're living right now. And I guarantee you, if I were to spend 15 minutes with you, I could clear out half of the stuff that you're doing and make room for a new way of life that you now believe you don't even have. It's because you don't go into things saying, I have limits, I have boundaries, I have margins, I have principles, I have priorities, and I will be ruled by the priority, but I won't be ruled by the problem. And then Paul says, and even though I'm allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything. And it's amazing how many gifted and anointed and supernaturally skilled people are living the life of a slave. I can't do this, I can't do that, but I'm doing all of this. I'm doing this, that, and the other. I'm running here and there. I'm running so fast I done lost myself. And you're a slave to your family. You're a slave to your children. You're a slave to your career. You're a slave to yourself. And every day you wake up trying to figure out a way how you're going to break out of that prison, when you are really the jailer and the prisoner of your own prison, the state prison of you. I talked to you about giving well, serving well, talked to you about thinking well and training well, but here's the most critical one, living well. And how do you do it? How do you do it? I've got 3 things that I practice daily. I want you to write them down. I guarantee they'll be a blessing to you. Taking daily time for focus building. Daily time for focus building. There are so many setups. There's so many schemes. There's so many traps that are designed on a daily basis to break your focus, that you on a daily basis at the start of your day have got to do some focus building. This is what my schedule is. This is what my day is. These are my responsibilities. And then you go through a process of elimination, and sometimes it hurts, and sometimes you have to say no, and sometimes you have to admit, I don't have enough time. Sometimes you admit, I don't have enough energy. Sometimes you have to admit, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to do it tomorrow. I don't ever want to do it. But if I had to do it this week, this is the best day I'm going to do it. This is the only day I'm going to do it, and stick to it through focus building. Number 2, daily time of faith building. It's very unfortunate that many of us have a one-day faith reality. One-day faith is Sunday. That's the only day you got faith, and it's only for 2 hours. But you must build up your holy. You must build up. Scripture says, build up your most holy faith. It has to be built up. It has to be. That's what encounters like this is about. When you take time to meet me on Facebook, when you take time to be engaged with me on YouTube, or any of our other offerings that we have, whenever you take time to do that, you're doing faith building. You see, practice does not make perfect. Practice makes productivity. And the reason why you're not productive in your faith is you don't do enough faith building. So when I'm doing my focus building, I'm playing some audio book, I'm playing some video. I'm not listening to, I'm getting ready to go at some. Listening to gospel music in the morning is not faith building. That's called entertainment. There's a difference between entertainment and education. Education is the process of learning. Entertainment is the process of pleasure. And they don't always go hand in hand. So I'm a great music lover. I practically listen to music all day, every day. However, I need a time of faith building. And I need faith builders. I need people. See, I don't mind constructive criticism as long as it comes from somebody who's constructed something. I don't need you to give me constructive criticism just because you want to be constructive and critical. I need to know you have done something. And so I spend the course of my day listening and getting teaching and instruction and impartation from people and individuals who can build my faith, who can build my faith, who can build my faith. Faith builders build other faithful people. It's the same as being around scared people, being around fearful people, being around broke people, being around depressed people. If you hang around with a bunch of depressed people, you're going to end up on medication or in an institution because they're going to build your depression. You disappointed, you hate men, you hate this, you hate that. Just hang around them long enough, you'll be a great hater. Most great haters hang around haters. Every seed reproduces after its own kind. And so you need time for focus building. You need time for faith building. Here's another one, and I love this. You need time for fellowship building. And what does that require? You must become selective in the crowd, in the company that you keep. Now, this world is built, it's got built-in misery. It's got built-in depression. There's enough people to make you miserable and deranged and insane all at the same time. But you have the right to select. I love the life of Christ, and one of the reasons why I love the life of Christ is because he selected the men who would follow him. He didn't say, come and follow me to everybody. As a matter of fact, he tells his disciples in one encounter, I have sheep that are not of this fold. In other words, I have people who are following me as a shepherd that don't know you and you don't know them. You need to have individuals in your life that are connected with you in such a way that they build your sense of community and fellowship. You are not made to be in isolation. It is the danger of this quarantine. The danger of this quarantine is so many people suffer alone. And most people who suffer alone celebrate alone. You don't know how many of you I'm ministering to right now that you're holding grudges against people who weren't there when you walked across the stage. All I did to accomplish all I did, and I did all I did to do all I did, and they wasn't even there. They wasn't even there. They wasn't even there. And they should have been there to see me get my degree, get my master's. They wasn't even there. All I did to move, and I moved into the house. They haven't even come back here to see the house. They didn't even come to the wedding. Let me help you with something. There's a difference between people who come to the wedding and people who come to the funeral. The difference is you. That's the difference. And you cannot weigh your life on people who should have never been connected to you in the first place. You've got to take time to build fellowship. Take time to build your faith. Take time to build your focus. This is the reason why I love great comebacks. And I was studying, I'm a sports enthusiast. I use a lot of that in analogies and illustrations in my teaching and preaching and sharing and imparting in leaders and individuals as well. And I love the Indianapolis Colts. That Jonathan Taylor is he is a phenomenal, he should be the MVP this year for what he's done. He's a phenomenal player. I'm just telling you, I got to meet him when he was in college. He played at University of Wisconsin in Madison. Oh my gosh, what a phenomenal athlete. And he's proven to be that, and then some. He's going to be very successful. But the Indianapolis Colts in 2003, they were 21 points down. 21 points down. In the fourth quarter, 28-7. 28-7. And Peyton Manning brought them back from a 21-point deficit to win the Super Bowl. Amazing. Well, fighting, they were actually playing against a reigning Super Bowl champions on a Monday night. It happened on a Monday night game. Let me read. It happened on a Monday night. The Cleveland Indians were down 12 runs in 2001. 12 runs. National TV down. People stopped watching the show on ESPN. People stopped watching. They were down. No way they can come back. And they came back and won the game. How many times we've seen phenomenal players like Steph Curry, or LeBron James, or Michael Jordan, God bless his soul, Kobe Bryant. Team is down in the last quarter, and somehow they get a last burst of energy. They get a last burst of aspiration that we can still win. And we're in the final days of this year, the final days of this season, the final days of this time period. Guess what? There's so many of you who are listening to me. You need to hear me say you can still win. I've been to Africa several times, and I was so moved by the tributes for Bishop Desmond Tutu. Several years ago, he came to Chicago, and I was able to take young people to meet him. What an incredible person. But I remember going out into the bush and on a safari, and there were two things that stood out about that experience: the antelope and the lion. The antelope and the lion. The antelope knows every morning that the lion is out there. The lion is out there. He knows it every morning. And he knows the only advantage he has is he's got to be the fastest. He's got to be the fastest because the lion is out there. And the lion wakes up knowing that if I don't get the antelope and I don't eat, my days are numbered. And the antelope and the lion live in the same circumference, the same environment, day after day. The antelope says, I got to be the fastest. The lion says, I have to be the smartest. And they go after each other, one after the other, one outrunning one another, the other one trying to outsmart the other, because they have to coexist in an environment that is designed for their coexistence. The wheat and the tare grow up together. The good and the evil grow up together. And it does not matter in life whether you're the lion or the antelope. The question is, are you going to keep running? The antelope has to keep running. The lion has to keep running. And you can sit up and argue all day. I should have been a lion. I should have been a lion. If I was a lion, I wouldn't have to go through this. I don't like the life of an antelope. And you can sit up and talk about, all I had to do, all God had to do is make me an antelope. I wouldn't have to chase no antelope. I could chase other stuff. I'd be fast enough. I can live somewhere else. I don't have to live and go through this every day. No. You every now and then, you have to do two things. You have to use what you have and be thankful for what you have, because using what you have is what God is using to keep you alive. How would Paul put this? I've been using him in this whole lesson. In Philippians chapter 3, one of my favorite scriptures, he says, I count myself that I haven't apprehended. I love coming to this part of a season, of a time period of a year, when I can tell God, I can tell him in all honesty, my mission is accomplished for this year, but I'm not done. And you don't know how many of you all I'm ministering to right now. The reason why this doesn't mean anything to you, because you're done. I tell people all the time, death gonna have to come get me. I'm not going on my own. You gotta come get me. And you better come with all you got, because it's gonna be a fight to take me out. I'm not going out with no whimper. You have to fight. It's gonna be all day fight, all night fight, all week fight. It's gonna be a fight, because I'm not done. But one thing I do, this is the writings of Paul, forgetting those things that are behind, I press towards the mark of the prize. Do you not know? What's so marvelous about this is Paul is saying the next day, the next month, the next year is a prize. It's a prize of a higher calling, a higher mark in Christ Jesus. There's a story of an athlete by the name of Wrong-Way Royal Rigels, who played for the University of California. They were playing in the Rose Bowl in the national championship, and Wrong-Way Roy recovered a fumble. Imagine it. He's a defensive player. He had never carried the ball before in his life, and he recovers the fumble, and he gets hit by a Georgia Tech lineman that knocks him, turns him, twists him, and yet he picks up the fumble, and he's running. And he's running 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards. 9 yards into the run, they're yelling, "You're running the wrong way." He's got a smile on his face. He's never ran the ball a day in all of his development as a football player. But a bad hit turned him around. He was running in the wrong direction. I wonder how many of you all took a hit this year and you end up running in the wrong direction. And you didn't know it until it was too late. He crosses the end zone. He's jumping up and down. And he's wondering why his teammates are not celebrating him. And his teammates on the sideline snatching their helmets off, throwing towels. The Georgia Tech team jumping up and down because Wrong-Way Roy just scored a touchdown for the other side. I know you're sitting up there saying, they wouldn't have had that car without me. They wouldn't have had that job without me. They wouldn't have had that. They wouldn't have had this, that, and the other had I not been going in the wrong way. Wrong-Way Roy was so devastated, but he had something that everybody needs. He had somebody that still believed in him, even though he ran in the wrong direction and scored a touchdown for the wrong team. And his coach never gave up on him. He never, from that moment, and it took Roy almost a year to get his life back. But guess what? The next year, Wrong-Way Roy became Right-Way Roy and became the defensive lineman of the year. In just 1 year, what a difference a day makes. In just 1 year, his life is turned around. In one moment, he's at the bottom. In 1 year, he's at the top. I wonder how many of you are going to believe God that maybe this might have been your wrong way year. Maybe there's been a year of wrong turns, wrong connections, wrong turns. And maybe God has a plan that what the enemy meant for evil, God meant it for your good. Here's what I love about the Word of God. Wherefore, seeing we have so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and let us run this race with patience. Let's run the race. Watch this. Listen to the word that's set before us. God never expects you to run the race behind you. He wants you to run the race in front of you so you too can say, mission accomplished. It's been incredible. It's been great. It has been more than we anticipated or could have expected. And yet God is not through with us. I want to thank you for sharing. I want to thank you for your time, your partnership, and your participation. Don't forget to give, tithe, or sow, and join us in any of our exciting services. I want you to be my very special guest. Go to bishoptavisgrant2.org and get more information. The various platforms at the bottom where you can give, contribute, share, sow, and invest in the kingdom work that we're doing. And don't ever, ever forget, tough times don't last, tough people do. I'll see you soon. Mission accomplished.